Hello everyone, I am Terry the Fox, and welcome back to more Let's Play the Red String of Fate. So last time, we discovered that we're not the only loser in the world who can see the red strings of fate. We found another dude named Luke who can also see the red string of fate. So, because again I do find his story more interesting and more enjoyable, I will go with Luke. So, decline and work on the project with Luke on the weekend. With Luke on the weekend instead. Okay. So, last time Aaron invited us to a party, and Luke is not a big party man. So, we'll also decline on the party and just work on the project. Alrighty, here we go. I tried to imagine going to a noisy party packed with drunk people and filled with red strings floating everywhere, and I could barely hold back a grimace. The idea doesn't sound pleasant at all. Maybe I'll try to ask my bosses to let me cover an extra shift or two on the weekends instead. If they don't have work for me, perhaps I can join Luke instead. I make a face playfully at Aaron before shaking my head in an apologetic smile. I'm sorry, maybe I should work with Luke on the project this weekend instead. He's right, we are behind on progress. I need to catch up if I want to pull my weight. The project is important after all. I'll check my schedule later to see if I'm free. Is that alright with you, Luke? Luke's head jerks upwards, and he meets my eyes in a clear expression of surprise, but he doesn't protest or speak up to revoke his offer. Did he really expect me to go with Aaron to the party? Next to him, Aaron's head falls onto the table with a thunk, and he groans in misery. I can only smile at the top of his head in amusement and apology. You'll be fine, Aaron. I'm sure lots of people are going alone too. I really doubt it. Oh well, it's not the end of the world, I suppose. Aw, poor Aaron. Aaron lets out another long sigh before straightening, still pouting. I suppose we should get back to the project. We've wasted enough time. Sorry about that. Right, we should. I need to leave at 5 for work. Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you have work right after this. Yes, of course. Let's get back on track. Wah! His expression grows solemn, and he turns on his laptop. We should probably pick up where we left off last time and discuss the division of labor first. With that, the project meeting officially begins, but I can't help but notice Luke continuously sneaking peeks at me. What does Luke want with me? Who is he even? Luke? If his last name is Skywalker, I'm out of here. Just what exactly does he know? And with that, we're stuck in the route with Luke, and we have 2 possible endings. Both we shall be exploring. I throw myself onto my bed, landing on my stomach. My eyes almost immediately start to close from pure exhaustion, but I give my head a hard shake, trying to clear my drowsiness. No time to rest. I have to get ready for my shift at the restaurant. With a slow groan and the willpower of Atlas, I manage to drag myself out of the comfortable warmth of my bed. I turn to grab my belongings, and the flashing of my phone screen catches my attention. It's a text from a coworker at the restaurant. Are you going to go with the rest of us to visit the boss's baby tomorrow? Huh? I fire a quick text back asking what she means, and my phone buzzes in my hand a few seconds later with a reply. Did you forget? Boss gave birth yesterday, remember? That's why the restaurant's closed today, to celebrate. Oh, right! The vague memory of someone texting me about a newborn baby surfaces in my mind. It had happened so late last night that I barely glanced at the text before turning in my bed and falling back to sleep. Goddamn! We've just begun and already I'm tripping over my words. Love it. Love that I suck at reading. My brows furrow. I forgot the restaurant would be closed today, even though the owner isn't required to be here during the business hours anyway. Stupid Chinese tradition. I guess this means I'm free for the rest of the day. Damn, I wanted to do some extra shifts today for more money. Torn between relief and disappointment, I once again collapse on my bed. This time I let sleep pull me under. Sounds like Val is a bit of a workaholic. The persistent, annoying buzzing slowly tears me from my dreams, and I moan groggily, my hand searching for the evil device in question. Prying open one eye, I notice with a start that Aaron is calling me. What does he want? I let out a loud yawn before answering the call, grumbling a meeting. The background noise from his end is so deafening that I instantly pull my phone away from my ear, cringing. What the hell? Aaron? Valerie! Finally! Aaron? I can barely hear you. Why is it so noisy? Where in the world are you? Irene's party! Remember? I frown, trying to make sense of Aaron's slurred, strangely dragged out words. Aaron? Are you drunk? Drunk? Never. I'm not drunk. He gives a loud hiccup, but I can only shake my head in amusement at the phone. Right. Of course you aren't. Well, what are you calling me for? He pauses, seemingly needing a moment to recollect his thoughts. I was going to ask if you and Luke want to come. It's a great party. No, I'll pass. Why don't you ask Luke yourself? Shouldn't he be with you? Hey, Luke! Bro! Sup? I flinch as Aaron suddenly raises his voice, shouting as though Luke can hear him through my phone. Jesus, Aaron! You're going to deafen me! Luke's not even he- Wait. If the party is today, that means I'm supposed to be meeting with Luke for the project today. I thought it was next weekend! A string of curses escape my mouth, and Aaron giggles like a delighted child. What does that word mean? You know... I can't talk now. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hanging up quickly on Aaron, I immediately dial Luke's number. He answers after a few rings, and I start babbling an apology. I'm so sorry. I forgot our meeting is today. I swear I'm not usually this scatterbrained. I've just been so tired from all my shifts at work and... Valerie? Yes, right. Hi, it's Valerie. I could have sworn I heard a light chuckle from the end of his phone. It's fine. Breathe. Breathe. Are you still there at the library? I'll come as soon as possible. Cradling the phone in the crook of my neck, I slide off the bed and start swooping my laptop and notebook into my bag. Oh. No, I'm not at the library anymore. I waited for a bit, but when you didn't show, I thought you went to the party with Aaron after all and forgot to let me know. A fresh wave of guilt hit me and I sigh, apologizing again. It's fine. Do you still want to work on the project together? Yes, of course! Unless it's too much trouble for you to come back to the campus, then we could just reschedule. I can hear his quiet breathing as he thinks for a long moment before replying. I'm going to be free for another hour or so. If you want, we can work on the project at my place. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll have to reschedule. I'm sorry, I know this is inconvenient, but I'd really rather not make the trip back to campus because I would have to rush back home after 40 minutes away since I have an important call scheduled. Oh, well, in that case, I'll head to your place now. What's your address? Luke thanks me, and I scribble down the address he gives me before we end the call. It takes me a while, but I finally reach Luke's apartment. Luke is the one to answer, but he waves me in. For a moment, I can only stand there at the door, unsure what to say. Hi. He seems mildly amused by my awkward greeting. Hello. I'm really sorry about forgetting our meeting. He leans against the doorframe with one hand on in his pocket, his lips twitching up into a smile. It's fine. I'm sorry for making you head all the way out here. Thank you for coming. He opens his mouth to say something and pauses as though trying to decide whether he should say it or not. Apparently, he decides to in the affirmative because he continues. I'm supposed to have a video call with my grandma tonight, so I don't want to be late. I'm sorry. No, it's fine, really. It was my fault in the first place for forgetting and making you wait at the library for ages. Right, well, we should probably get started then. We don't have much time. I nod in agreement, and he starts leading me to his room. As we pass by the living room, I notice a boy around our age, lounging on the couch with a book in a hand. He glances up at us, and he seems rather surprised when his gaze falls on me. Hey, Luke, is that your friend over there? That was a horrible, horrible voice. Horrible. But the roommate's not that important, so whatever. We won't have to deal with it for very long. Luke's footsteps halt and he nods. This is Valerie, one of my partners in a project. Valerie, this is Zeke, my roommate. Hi. I lift my hand in a small wave and Zeke gives me a friendly grin, but the curious look in his stare remains. I cock my head in confusion. Why is Zeke reacting to my presence here like this? Well, I'll be in my room if you need me, Zeke. Sure, good luck with your project. Oh, that is a horrible voice. Ugh. I don't know what I was thinking that was a good voice. Luke gestures towards the hallway, and I fall into pace behind him once again, trying to ignore Zeke's stare, burning a hole in my back. Make yourself at home. I'll go get us some water. He makes his way out of the room, and I seize the opportunity to study his room. It's smaller and tidier than I had expected, and surprisingly lacking in books except for a row on the shelf near his bed. Curious, I shuffle closer and carefully pluck a book from its resting place, flipping it open. Oh my god! I let out a loud exclamation of surprise at the same time Luke returns, and his gaze falls onto the book in my hands. Be careful with that! He screws over, wresting the book gently from me, and I'm still so stunned that I make no move to stop him. That's a first edition of Pride and Prejudice! How much is that thing worth? Wow, that's pretty impressive to get a first edition. He returns the book in its place and with a clear degree of caution. His motions light and slow before turning to face me. One hand flies to the back of his neck, and he seems a little uneasy. It was my grandpa's. He gave it to me as a birthday present. Speechless, I can only shake my head in awe. Wow! God damn, your grandpa has good books. Or at least first edition books, if they're the popular ones. And wow. Wow. That's amazing. I try to peer around him at the rest of the books on the shelf, noting the worn condition they were all in. Are they all first edition books as well? Luke clears his throat in discomfort and gestures at the desk in the corner, a silent request for me to drop the topic. Swallowing the residue of my shock, I nod and follow him over to his desk, pulling out my laptop. Right. So how much progress have you made for your part of the research? Not much, I'm afraid. Sorry. At my lack of reply, Luke turns to look at me, catching me still peeking curiously in the direction of his bookshelf out of the corner of my eye. I can only give him a sheepish smile in response. He shakes his head slowly, but I can tell he's trying to suppress a smile. His eyes gleaming with a hint of amusement. Sorry, I'll focus now. Ugh, don't know what's wrong with my nose. Tearing my eyes away from the magnetic book restraining on the shelf, I attempt to concentrate on the work in front of me. It takes a while, but eventually I find myself absorbed in my task. Before long, we are working alongside each other in a peaceful silence. Occasionally, we'll throw out ideas for discussion or ask each other questions for clarification, and I'm amazed by how quickly we are making progress by helping each other out. At some point, we decide to take a break, stretching to ease the soreness in my muscles. I look up with a hint of surprise to see Luke silently offering me a chocolate bar. Ooh, nice little pick-me-up. Sweet. Yes, please. Thank you. He drops the chocolate bar onto my palm and I peel the wrapper off to take a small bite. I moan in appreciation of the delicious chocolate. Wow, this tastes wonderful! I love chocolate! He seems to eye his snacks with a hesitant look before making up his mind and pushing the remaining chocolate bars on the table towards me. You can have the rest. Are you bribing me into not speaking about the first edition books I saw in your room today? It depends. Is it working? Possibly. Only if you give me an explanation as well, though. He looks vaguely uncomfortable again, his eyes flying to the back of his neck. There really isn't anything to tell. My grandfather collected those books, and he gave them to me for my 18th birthday. He just gave away a whole priceless collection of classic literature? Your grandfather must be rich, or just an insanely generous person. I don't know. I guess you could say he was very giving. I didn't miss Luke's use of past tense, or the sorrowful expression that fleets across his face. Mentally, I kicked myself. Good job, Valerie. Way to go. I'm sorry for your loss. It was years ago. I'm fine. Despite his reassurance, there's still a hint of sadness in his dark eyes. Clearly, he was close to his grandfather. Hastily, I clear my throat and try to steer the subject to a safer area. So, I didn't expect a literature major to only have a handful of books in his room, even if they do cost more than 50 books put together. I keep my books in a separate room. Wait, you have a library in your apartment? The corner of his lips tug upwards into a half smile, and to my relief, the sadness in his expression fades away. It's not really a library, just a messy room full of bookshelves. You see, my roommate is also in literature. You can imagine the amount of books we would have combined. We didn't have a choice but to save a room for the books. Impressive. Can I check that out later? Yes, of course. Just be careful. Otherwise you might cause a landslide of books and be buried alive. His eyes twinkle in amusement, and I grin back at him. You better tackle me out of the way if that happens, or you'll be charged with murder. It won't be my fault if you caused the accident yourself. Why don't you just stand by and watch me die? You expect me to dive in that endless pit of books to pull you out? I throw my head back in laughter after shooting him a mock wounded look. It's interesting how, despite his usual quietness, he has a sharp wit and a sense of humor that never fails to amuse me when it makes an appearance. There's a lull in our conversation, and I return to snacking on chocolate, still grinning from our banter. My head stops up when Luke breaks the silence first with a sudden question. So, why didn't you go to the party with Aaron? Huh? What do you mean? Luke fidgets a little, his fingers toying with a stray thread in his sweater. Isn't he a good friend of yours? Why didn't you go to the party with him? What? Oh. Yeah, I've known Aaron since high school. Not well, but still. We're friends now, I guess. But, well, you know why I turned that offer down. I went to a gathering, not even a crowded party, once in high school. And I immediately regretted it the second I walked into the room. Way too many people. A frown briefly appears on his forehead before he understands my meaning, and he nods in comprehension. Unfortunately, at this remainder of the one thing we have in common, our heated conversation from the other day resurfaces in my mind. And from the way Luke is averting his eyes, I'm sure he's remembering the same incident. The tension returns and the silence drags on until it finally becomes too intolerable. What should I do? So here's kind of the interesting part about this game. For majority of this game, until the final few choices, you can literally say whatever you want and just have a different dialogue, but no real consequence. For Luke's route, it only matters for the last 4 decisions of the game. Last 4 choices. That will dictate what ending you get. So until we get those final 4 choices, we can dick around, literally. Unfortunately, I don't remember what all of them say. They're not that big of a deal, honestly. And also, I recommend checking it out for yourself! Ha ha ha! Because this game is free and you can play it for yourself. Let's break the tension. This is getting awkward. We don't like awkwardness. Awkwardness is weird. I end up blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, hoping to return to the easy, comfortable atmosphere from earlier. Besides, I want to spend some time with you. I don't know you as well as I know Aaron, but I'd like to change that and become friends. Wow, that sounded even lamer out loud than it did in my head. Feeling awkward at my outburst, I wait with bated breath for Luke's response, my lower lip between my teeth. He appears to hesitate for a second, his head tilted to one side before his lips slowly twitch upwards. There's a new warmth in his eyes when he makes eye contact with me, peering at me from behind a lock of hair. You want to be friends? Right, I see. He lowers his gaze to his book and casually flips a page, the conversation seemingly over. Despite his lack of response, the small pleased smile still playing on his lips is enough to make my awkwardness melt away, and I relax with a relieved sigh, having averted a crisis. We return to our work in a silent agreement, and I have almost forgotten this conversation when Luke's soft murmur drifts to my ears, so low that I nearly missed it. We're already friends. Aww, that's nice. That's very nice. This time, it's my turn to try and stifle my smile as I focus my gaze on the laptop screen in front of me. Aww, that was really nice. I drum my fingers against the table, trying to stifle a yawn. The clock continues ticking loudly in a quiet library, its steady rhythm as almost hypnotic spell luring me to sleep. I let my head fall onto the surface of the table, face first, closing my eyes with a groan. 2 more hours left until I get off work. Then, I can rest. After finishing the 2,000-word essay due tomorrow that I haven't even started yet. Oh no. Have fun. Have fun. Another heavy groan escapes me and I start hitting my head lightly against the desk, lamenting every single decision I made in life that led me up to this point. Val, are you alright? Huh? What? My head snaps up so fast I almost gave myself whiplash, and I see Luke standing in front of me trying to stifle an amused grin. Flustered, I return his smile, trying to smooth my hair and appear casual. Oh, hey Luke! What are you doing here? His gaze falls briefly onto the pile of books in his arms, and I titter, heat now starting to rise on my cheeks. Great, why do I always end up looking like a brainless, clumsy airhead in front of Luke? He has a penchant for catching me at my worst moments somehow. Right, of course! This is the library. Of course you're here to borrow books. You want to check out those books? Just hand them over here. Luke heaves the books onto the counter, and his lips curve into a warm smile. Thanks, Val. I grab the first book onto the pile to scan the barcode, and the title of the second book on the cover catches my eye. I fail to bite back a giggle. Luke looks confused for a moment before realization dawns on him, and in a swift movement, he removes the 3 books from the pile and holds them behind his back. My giggle turns into a full-blown laughter at Luke's mortified expression. Ooh, what are they? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide, Luke boy? I didn't expect you to have this kind of taste in books. These are for an essay for a class. I have to write on women's sexuality and literature. I don't usually read these for fun. Sure you don't. Sure you don't. Is that a stutter I detected in his voice? Is that a faint blush on his cheeks? Grinning in amusement, I can't resist teasing him. It's alright. Your secret is safe with me. 'Cause you're a guy. It's okay for guys to look at girls. Come on. We have nice titties. We have nice jiggly asses. What more do you want? What more do you want? Luke doesn't respond, the color in his cheeks darkening as his eyes dart away from mine. Taking pity on him, I return to my task of checking his books out for him while making small talk. So, what class is that? Huh? Noting Luke's confusion, I elaborate. What class do you have to read those books for? Speaking of which, you need to give them to me or else I can't check them out for you. Slowly, with clear reluctance, Luke returns the books to their original positions on the pile, and his reply is so soft that I can barely hear him. Gender, sexuality, and literature. Right, that makes sense then. When does the essay due? This Friday. I pull a sympathetic face, pausing to type in the serial number of the book in the computer since the barcode scanner decides to malfunction as usual. I reach for the next book, unable to resist peeking at the name again. W.H. Auden, huh? Which is your favorite poem of his? Luke straightens and a glint enters his eyes. Funeral Blues. Do you know that poem? I scrunch up my face, making a wild grasp of the vague memory floating at the edge of my mind. Is it the one that starts with "Stop all the clocks" or something like that? Luke's face brightens and he gives an enthusiastic nod. He seems impressed by my knowledge, and there's a new appreciative glint in his eyes when he meets my gaze. Right. I remember that from my literature classes in high school. It's quite a sweet but sad love poem, isn't it? It's not a love poem. Well, not really. Do you know that the poem was originally a satirical piece in a play? Really? I didn't know that. He later changed it to make it less satirical, but to be honest, the sarcastic tone still remains. On the surface, it is a dramatic love poem, but there's a second, wildly different analysis. Almost excitedly, Luke grabs the book and flips it open to the page where the poem in question is printed. He points to the page and I follow his gaze. Look, see how perfectly structured the poem is? Almost overly so for a poem about a hysterical lover mourning the partner's death. Perfect rhyming, complete quatrain, iambic, pentameter, holy shit. The poem is littered with hyperboles, to the point where it feels like he's mocking the melodramatic analogies that people use to describe their mourning for love lost. For example, this line. Luke's sentence trails off suddenly, and there's an invisible flush on his cheeks as he closes the book. Oh, I'm sorry, I got carried away there for a second. I study him, fascinated by the abrupt change of demeanor. I've never seen him as animated as he was when talking about the poem. Clearly he's passionate about what he studies, and he's in his element when it comes to literature. No, it's intriguing. I never thought of the poem that way before. I'd love to hear more. Well, it's just one of the possible readings of the poem. It's up to the readers to interpret, of course. And you prefer this analysis? Luke nods, raising his gaze to mine. You? Which do you prefer? Which interpretation of the poem do I prefer? And again, doesn't really matter. I don't have a preference. It's nice romantic, but it's like, oh, satirical one. It's not too bad either. I don't have a preference. I think they're both good ideas. Because that's how poems are meant to be. They're meant to be interpreted differently. Like art and a bunch of other shit. I don't really have a preference, I think. Both are interesting and seem like valid interpretations. Luke seems surprised, blinking at me without a word. What? Did you not expect that answer? No, you're usually so optimistic that I... He gives me a sheepish smile, and I grin back at him. I swear that word sheepish is going to be the death of me. I mean, I'm not denying that your analysis is super pessimistic. Yes, but it's also realistic, isn't it? I cocked my head at his reply, eyeing him with interest and surprise. You don't believe in love? He gives a casual shrug. Perhaps. I gap in disbelief at his flippant attitude towards something as serious as doubting the existence of true love. But how is that possible? You're a literature student. Everyone knows literature is full of poems and stories about romantic love. It's like one of the greatest subjects to write about of all time. Besides, what about the I cut myself off, mindful of anyone walking by who can accidentally overhear our conversation and learn of our secret. I expected Luke to shut down immediately at the mention of the red strings of fate, like he usually does. But surprisingly, this time, perhaps because of his good mood, he reacts differently. He simply continues smiling and shrugs again. Poems about romantic love are overrated. In a sense, that can be true. What do you write about, then? Everything except that. Friendship, family, nature, life, death. You know, the certainties in life. After all, love isn't everything, even though many people believe so. Still in disbelief, I can only shake my head. His smile widens into a teasing grin. Am I the one who has shocked you this time? Definitely. I wasn't really expecting this. I continue eyeing him with a mixture of confusion and fascination while he returns my gaze with amusement. Huh. A literature student who studies love poems on a daily basis but doesn't believe in love. And a seer of red strings of fate who doesn't believe true love exists. My eyes flicker down to the absent place on his finger where his red cord should have been, and I can't help but wonder, could his attitude towards love have something to do with that? As though sensing my train of thought, Luke's smile dims slightly, but he remains polite and friendly. Well, as much as I want to stay and continue chatting, I'm afraid I have to run, or else I'll be late to my next class. Would you mind checking out the rest of these books for me? He tipped his head in the direction of the books still lying in front of me. Oh, right! I almost forgot, sorry! I jerk back to action, rushing through the motions. When I'm finished, I hand the books back to him and watch as he places them carefully into his bag. Here, sorry about the delay. No problem. Thanks a lot, Val. I'll see you around. See ya! Slinging the backpack over his shoulder, he turns to walk away, and I can only stare at his retreating figure, my mind buzzing with more unanswered questions, something I have come to expect as a necessary consequence to every encounter with Luke. Alrighty, so that was quite an interesting conversation. Didn't try to rip our heads off this time. Usually when we try to bring it up, he gets very annoyed. But anyway, where are we now? I hum to myself as I make my way back to campus, my spirits high despite the long shift at the restaurant. Oh, okay, so this is our restaurant that we work at. Apparently, we have 2 jobs. A grin climbs onto my face as I slide my hand into my pocket, filling the heavy metal coins and crisp bills. I love it when some rich Chinese tycoon comes in for a meal and leaves a generous tip. Smiling to myself, I continue down the street, a spring in my steps. I peek at my watch, surprised to find that I'm actually going to be early for my shift at the library since my shift at the restaurant ended early. In no hurry to arrive at my next part-time job, I let my footsteps slow. What should I do since I have some time to kill? I mean, I could go back to my dorm room first and work my essays, but do I really want to do that? Do I really want to work on my homework and get A's? Maybe. I make a face at the thought. I don't want to ruin my good mood with homework. A couple is heading in my direction, laughing loudly at a shared joke, and as usual, my eyes are drawn to the happy couple. A quick glance at their joined hands confirms my suspicions that their strings led to each other. How sweet. As they pass by, I can't help but overhear their playful banter. I'm not letting you choose a location for a date again. I've learned from the last disaster. Wow, hey, it wasn't a disaster. I almost fell off a cliff because you had the brilliant idea of taking me hiking in high hills. We're going to the beach this weekend, alright? No ifs or buts. You're so bossy. But you love me for it. And you get to see me in a bikini. The boy sighs in exasperation, but the love in his voice when he speaks is plain as day. God knows why, but I do. The girl whispers something I can't hear, followed by a light giggle and a sound full of bliss. A wave of jealousy rushes through me, so acute that I freeze for a moment. My eyes flutter shut, surprised by the intensity of my feelings. I want that. I want to be able to have silly, flirty conversations with my soulmate like that. I want to be able to lean against his arm, stare up into his eyes like that. Why is the universe so unfair to me? I swallow hard to try to shake these depressing thoughts away. No, I can't think like that. I'll find my soulmate soon, I know that. Everything is going to be okay. I tried to redirect my attention towards my previous dilemma, finding something to do to kill time before my shift begins. Perhaps it's because of the young couple's conversation, perhaps it's because of my sudden emotional vulnerability, but the first place that pops into my mind is the beach. I hesitate for a second. I haven't been to the beach in ages, not since my father passed away when I was a child. Oh. That sucks. Sorry to hear that, Val. Too many memories, one can say. Should I? In the end, the urge to fill in the sand under my bare feet and dip my hands into the water wins out over my trepidation. I might as well. I have nothing better to do anyway. I'd just stay there for half an hour at most. It'll be just fine. With a nod, I veered to the left, heading for the beach nearby. Setting a casual pace, I strolled down the beach, basking in the feel of the sea breeze kissing my cheeks. Closing my eyes, I let out a content sigh. I've never forgotten how much I love the beach. If only. In a flash, childhood memories began surfacing in my mind. Afternoons of walking on the beach with my parents, building sandcastles with my father, or swimming in the ocean with my mother. They've always loved the beach, too. I often wonder how much of their love for the beach was out of actual appreciation for the ocean, rather than sentimentally due to how they first met. The cliché, movie-like scene where his beach volleyball hit her in the head, and he offered to take her on a date to make it up to her. My heart clenches, and I try to swallow the sadness. I miss them. The sound of cheerful laughter all around me only serves to make me feel even lonelier and more miserable. Damn it, it was a mistake to come here. I turn to leave, but a familiar figure catches my eye. Is that Luke? I watch as he settles onto the sand in the corner of the beach, a notebook upon his lap. He seems focused on the happenings on the beach, not even noticing my presence, and I follow his gaze. A family of four is sitting on a huge blanket, the children tossing sand at each other while the parents look on with fond smiles. I return my gaze to Luke's hunched frame, who suddenly seems more vulnerable than I've ever seen him. Without thinking, I make my way towards him. He looks up when my feet stop beside him. Hey, Luke.
Oh, hi, Val.
What are you doing?
Nothing important. Just trying to find inspiration for my next poem, I suppose.
He gestures at his notebook, and I sneak a quick peek at it. The page he's turned to is still mostly blank, other than a few illegible scribbles at the corner. Am I interrupting?
No, of course not.
He pats the sand next to him as an invitation, and I sit down beside him.
Fancy seeing you here.
I should be the one saying that. I didn't peg you as an outdoors person.
What? Did you think I'd be the type to hold myself up in my room all day with papers scattered all over the floor and piles of books walling me in? God damn! Apparently that sentence was very hard for me to read.
I can't suppress a grin at the mental image. Actually, yes. You are exactly that type. Luke shoots me a mock-wounded look, and I let out a giggle.
I'm a writer. Writers need inspiration. Unfortunately for me, most of my inspiration comes from getting out there and observing my surroundings, or admiring the beauty of nature. As much as I want to live up to my stereotype, I can't. I never get anything done.
Right, that makes sense. Any luck so far?
I incline my head at his notebook, and he grimaces. No, not really.
What's the theme of your poem? Maybe I can help.
Luke's eyes widen slightly at my offer, and I shrug.
I'm not an amazing writer or anything, but I did take a few years of literature, and I am studying journalism. I'm not terrible at writing.
Well, I wanted to write a poem on family, but I can't really think of anything. I thought observing family outings at the beach would help, but my mind is still blank.
Oh. The memories once again flash across my mind, and I avert my eyes, overcome with emotion for a moment.
I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong? My eyes are back to his, noticing the way he is watching my reaction with concern. No, of course not. It's just... it's silly. He closes his notebook, slipping his pen into his pocket, and regards me with a gentle gaze. I doubt it is. Maybe it's because of his clear display of concern, or maybe he just caught me at a weak moment. But I find myself opening up to him, letting the words pour out of my mouth. It's nothing. It's just that my parents and I used to go to the beach very often. Almost weekly. They met at the beach, you see. It's where they had their first date and where my dad proposed. When I was born, they'd take me here every week, teaching me how to swim, play volleyball, build sandcastles. The beach is just a special place to my family. I haven't been to a beach since my dad died when I was 6, so I'm just feeling emotional right now. All I could think of is how he'd hold my hand as we'd stroll down the beach, leaning down uncomfortably to accommodate for my height. The worst part is, I don't even remember much about him other than these memories. The only things I know about my dad come from my mom. She'd tell me about how determined and hardworking he was, how he moved to America alone with nothing but hopes and dreams, and somehow built a successful life for himself. But I don't have enough first-hand memories. I don't remember the sound of his voice, the warmth of his eyes when he looks down at me. Aware of the tears threatening to spill over, I give my head a hard shake, putting a stop to my torrent of words. According to the picture I see here, it looks like your tears have already spilled. Or spilled, whatever. God, I'm sorry for this rambling. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. No, don't apologize. I'm glad you trust me enough to tell me about this. I shrug and give a sniff, his gentleness calming me for a reason. I'm sorry for your loss. I know how it feels to lose a dear family member and how frustrating it feels to not be able to recall important moments with them. I tilt my head at the hint of sorrow in his tone and can't help but ask, Your grandfather? He hesitates, clearly unused to talking about it, but he finally nods. And my parents. Oh no, I'm so sorry! My hand creeps out of his own accord. And settles on top of his head on the sand. He doesn't give any sign of noticing my action, but his shoulders seem to relax slightly. It's alright. I don't remember them at all, to be honest, so in a twisted way, it's easier. I only recall their faces from the photos shown to me. They died when I was 2 or so. I grew up with my grandparents. I try to imagine losing both my parents at such a young age, left with no memories of them, and I shudder. Suddenly, I feel blessed for the 6 years I've had with my father and the 17 years I had with my mother. I'm sorry. I can't imagine how that must be like. There's a moment of silence before he replies. Don't be sorry. I've accepted it a long time ago. His eyes meet mine out of the corner of his eye, and the corner of his lips tug upwards into a teasing smile. Besides, my grandparents are great, especially with birthday gifts. I bet they are. I bark out a laugh, shaking my head at him. Are you trying to embarrass me? Because I'll let you know, I'm definitely not embarrassed about my reaction to the collection of first edition books you have in your room. Any normal person would react the same way, especially upon hearing how you receive them as gifts. Really? I could have sworn you even let out a little scream when you saw the book. Like this. He makes a high-pitched squeal, apparently trying to imitate me, but I burst out laughing, giving him a hard smack on the arm. I did not! You did. We grin at each other for a moment. I know Luke probably thinks he's being subtle, but it's obvious he's trying to cheer me up on purpose. What surprises me even more is that his attempt at brightening my mood is the fact that it actually worked. I could feel the remnants of my sadness drift away with the wind, my smile curved into an uncontrollable smile. Somehow, just talking to him, listening to his story and letting him try to cheer me up has made my heart feel a whole lot lighter than before. Thank you. For what? He gives me an innocent smile, a knowing glint in his eyes. Nothing. Well, I should be the one thanking you. I think I have an idea of what I want to write for the poem now.
Really? That's great.
I give him a sly grin, nudging him slightly to the side.
Since I helped, reckon I'll get to read your poem someday?
A sudden flush spreads across his cheek, and he can't quite meet my eyes. Well, maybe.
Yes, I'll be excited waiting for your masterpiece.
Don't get your hopes up too high. I still have a lot to learn about writing poems.
I'll judge for myself when I see the poem.
He blushes further, turning away from me to look at the endless blue sea and the infinite horizon. You know, the sight always takes my breath away. You're really missing out if you continue avoiding the beach. The view here is simply phenomenal. Personally, I don't think beaches are that great. They're okay, but they're not that great. Well, that's just me personally. If you like the beach, more power to you. I bite my lip. Its clear look is trying to slowly encourage me to accept the pain of losing my parents and not let it stop me from going to a place I love. But I just don't know if I can. Can I really let go of the painful memories? And once more, it doesn't really matter what we choose, so we should try. We should try to let go. You know, as Elsa once said, let it go. I stare at the family of four that Luke was observing earlier, who seemed to be getting ready to leave. Maybe I can, after all. At least, I won't know if I don't try. I have to move on with my life sooner or later. Taking a deep breath, I give him a cheeky grin. I guess I'll just have to try and find time to come here more often. Maybe I'll run into you again next time. I forgot to change her voice, but whatever. His eyes crinkle at the corners as he returns my smile warmly. I think that's a wonderful idea. I guess I'll be keeping an eye out for you the next time I'm here. Aww. And I believe this is a good stopping point. We'll see it right here. Yes. As we're nearing that hour mark, of course. More or less. But what quite an interesting story. Again, I do like the conversations that these characters have between each other. One or two sentences get a little awkward and weird. It's like, I don't think a normal person would say that. But then, majority of it's kind of subtle. Like, I could actually see a normal conversation happening like this. Also, kind of interesting struggles, too, that everyone seems to be sharing. And I understand that. I can't relate to it, but I can sort of understand where they're coming from. But anyway, I am Tara the Fox. You are the viewer. And I hope to see you next time.